We appreciate all of the guests who have appeared on our show and sincerely thank them for providing you, our audience, with useful information. However, the advice our guests provide is theirs, and we encourage you to seek out a professional if you have specific questions about any topic we cover on the Crushing Debt podcast. On this week's episode of the podcast, Chris Calandra with Elliott Wealth Management Services.
Welcome to the Crushing Debt Podcast with your host, Florida attorney Sean Yesner, where our goal is to help you get rid of the financial bullies in your life.
So welcome back to this week's episode of the podcast. My name is Sean Yesner with Yesner Law, and as always, the podcast is brought to you by my law firm, Yesner Law, and also by the book Crushing Debt, which I would really appreciate if you could go on to Amazon.com, check out a copy of the book. And again, what I'm still asking for is if you leave an honest review of the law firm, good, bad, or otherwise, an honest review of the law firm on social media. Take a picture of that review, send it to me, and let me know your address, and I will send you a copy of the Crushing Debt book for free. So again, Amazon.com, search Crushing Debt or search my name. You can get a copy of the book that way, but I don't want to take too much time. I want to get to my guest. So my guest this week had me on his show a couple of weeks ago, the Simply Financial podcast. And so I would recommend that you go online onto Apple Podcast or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts and check out the Simply Financial podcast for some great information around the area of financial planning. My guest this week is Chris Calandra from Elliott Wealth Management Services. You can find his website at ElliottWealth.com. Elliott is ELLIOTT wealth.com. And so welcome, Chris.
Thank you so much for having me. It's nice to turn the tables. I thought the interview I had done with you from my show was excellent. I've gotten terrific reviews on your appearance. So I'm looking forward to talking to you, and you can hammer me with some questions.
Now, the questions you asked me weren't that bad. You didn't hammer me that bad, but
all right. Good.
But let's see what I can do. So here's the interesting thing. When I talk to a financial advisor, and that's, why don't we start with what is your background? What is your position there at the company?
Sure. I'm the founder and senior wealth advisor for Elliott Wealth Management Services. I am, Sean, a certified financial planner, and I've been in the industry the entirety of my career, which is a little over 26 years now. And so my role with the firm is to work with individuals, families, and small businesses, helping them with financial planning, investment management, assisting them in making smart financial decisions, in the simplest sense, helping them win with money. Okay.
So I always tell this story when I meet with a financial advisor. I always tell them my story. And so here I am, a young attorney. I've got my job at the law firm, at the bigger law firm where, I'm just one of the junior associates, whatever. And we had the financial advisor for the law firm come into the office one day and sat down with all of us and tried to help us with, how much do you want to withhold? How much do you want to invest? How much do you want to put in your different savings account, different management accounts, whatever? And said, if you want more information, let's schedule a time, let's meet up and let's talk about it. And so I scheduled a time and I met with the guy, and he gave me a handful of pages. And I said, these are all very pretty colors. I like the pie charts. I like the graphs. The colors look fairly nice. You didn't put orange and blue next to each other, so that's always a good thing. But I don't quite understand what all these colors mean. And he said, well, just go to the website and look it up. And I go to the website, and again, more graphs, more colors, more pie charts. All it really did was make me hungry for pie. So when I chose my financial advisor, it was somebody, and I get everybody's different. Every person is different. Every client is different. But when I chose my financial advisor, it was with a sense of, at least talk to me about what I'm doing. Tell me, I recommend you invest in XYZ because of this reason or that reason. And so, I know you can't give investment advice on the show itself, but my question relates to that in terms of what makes a good client for you?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I would start out first by saying, especially for people that are listening that may not be a financial geek like I am and may not be immersed in investments and the taxability of different account types and all of that good stuff, is if you picture the investment vehicles and the different related items that go along in the decision-making process, picture them like tools, and you need to use the right tool for the right job. So first and foremost, in speaking with clients, we have to establish what job we're trying to do. The investment part of things will often fall into place rather easily, similar to a tool. If you have a nail that needs to be banged in, well, then the hammer is fairly obvious choice. But if you're trying to handle a screw or do something that requires a wrench, it's not going to be such a good match. So your example, I think, speaks well of what we do for our firm. We want to be in partnership with our clients. We want them to be open-minded, who want to be seeking help and are interested in building a long-term business relationship. So that's one of the keys in what we're looking for in terms of our clients. We are very soft with our minimums. Some advisory firms these days, Sean, have minimums, and we're certainly conscious of our profits as well as the clients that we can serve best. But we're very soft with that. Often we'll work with lots of clients who are young and or emerging success stories, and they're looking to win with money. And it's something where we might be able to help them make good decisions, avoid pitfalls, and over time, they could be a bigger client as they build wealth over time. I'll also add, we have two specialties in addition to working with what I'll broadly call millennial clients who are at the early stages of building wealth. We have a lot of expertise working with pre-retirees and retirees. We have 3 offices, Sean, one in Florida in a retirement community called The Villages, about an hour and a half northwest of where you are. We also have 2 offices in Connecticut. And with retirees and pre-retirees, we want to help them with income planning, to be in partnership with them, taking them into retirement and through retirement, which is a really, really big life event. And what we want to do is help them free up their time and reduce their worry so they could enjoy a retirement lifestyle as well as go into retirement with confidence that they have a good plan. And the last thing, I know I'm being a little wordy, the last thing is we also have a terrific segment of our clientele that are entrepreneurs. Probably the people that listened to your episode, I think it was last week, Sean, about real estate investing. Those people, by and large, are entrepreneurial. I'm an entrepreneur. I own my own practice. I also invest in commercial and residential real estate. I have always been an entrepreneur. And the way that I speak and tell stories and relate to things really resonates with entrepreneurs, people that have their hand in a number of different projects and are always trying to figure out how to make a buck. That's a great group of clients for us. So I think I answered your question.
Yeah, I think you did. I mean, one of the things that I think is important for entrepreneurs like you, like me, like a lot of my listeners is creating that plan, creating those things that get them to their financial goals. And so I know you talked about on your show, creating online savings accounts, creating emergency funds. You talk about tax issues. What are some of the other things that some of your entrepreneurial clients face in connection with getting their financial house in order, so to speak?
Sure. So we break it down into 5 basic categories. And if I was sitting with you and you were a potential client, Sean, I would talk about our gold medal services. So the first of the gold medal services, investment oversight. And so we will design a personalized portfolio, a personalized financial plan for you. We provide independent advice. We'll monitor the investments and the financial planning all year long, year after year. So that's number 1. Number 2 is we work with clients very closely on tax reduction planning. Most people I meet, probably most of your listeners, anytime they could reduce and avoid taxes legally, They're interested in learning about that. And so we spend a lot of time positioning assets, being very tax sensitive. We do not prepare taxes. I would not replace somebody's CPA, but we'll often work in coordination with their CPA so that we make sure that all of the planning and investing that we are doing is as tax sensitive as possible. Number 3, we work on retirement income and distribution planning. With the aging of America, as people move towards retirement and into retirement, the focus shifts a little bit from accumulating money and keeping track of how much wealth has been accrued, but also look at what kind of income can we generate from different sources: pensions, Social Security, real estate investment income, distributions from IRAs, brokerage accounts, mutual funds, and the like. So that's number 3. And then the 4th thing is family wealth planning. We work with our clients very closely to make sure that their affairs are in order. Should there be a crisis or an emergency, or God forbid, a death, make sure you have beneficiary on accounts, make sure accounts are titled correctly. If you've seen an attorney and they've recommended that you have trusts and establish trusts for your behalf, to make sure those trusts are funded. One of the most amazing things is, especially in the villages, you'll have clients that go and see an elder care attorney, pay good money to have a plan developed, have trust set up, and they don't follow through on the last step and make sure that the trusts are funded, or the beneficiaries are changed, or the assets are titled differently. So that's a major point of emphasis for us. And then the last of the 5 things is we have a tremendous amount of emphasis on client communication and service. We want to meet our clients regularly to check in with them, see if their goals and objectives have changed, check in to see if anything in their life has changed. They've received an inheritance, they've switched jobs, they're going to be moving, they're buying an investment property, whatever the case is. Those regular interactions, checking in with one another, leads to better investment results, superior financial planning accomplishments, and decreases the chances that a mistake is made or an opportunity is missed. And those are the 5 things we work with clients on.
Yeah, and I really like that, because especially dealing with clients in the villages, for those people who don't know, for those listeners who don't know, the villages is a retirement community. Like you said, an hour or 2 away from where I am here in the Tampa, Clearwater, St. Pete area. But, a lot of times some of the issues that we see with elderly clients is, the husband and the wife now are each mom and dad or grandma and grandpa for different people, because, husband's wife passed away, wife's husband passed away. And so now those 2 people get together as husband and wife, and then they've got kids from previous marriages. They've got grandparents or grandkids from previous marriages. And so they need to make sure that all of their asset protection and estate planning and whatnot is updated, because if I have a child from a previous marriage and now I marry my new wife, I want to make sure that her kid doesn't get the stuff that I had intended for my kid if something should happen to me. So I like the pieces of the annual reviews and getting with the estate planning attorney and what's changed and all those different things, because that's one of the ways that people get into trouble and then end up in my world in terms of, I had an inheritance that was supposed to go to this one, but instead it went to that one. And then they don't have any money to pay what's going on. And now you get infighting and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So,
I'll give you an example, Sean, not to cut you off, but we met with a potential new client actually this morning in Florida, and they have an investment account that they're very happy with, which is fine. But in doing our due diligence and preparing for the meeting, we find out that the investment company has the wrong state of residence as an address. And he's on the verge of having to take out his required minimum distribution. So he has to take money out of his IRA, but that's going to expose him to state income tax because it's from a state that he left as opposed to Florida.
Right.
And so, that's not exactly investment planning, but that is part of the comprehensive service we want to deliver to clients, to be like, listen, if we change the address before you have to take this money out, you could avoid complications by having money paid to a state that you don't reside in and then having to try and get it back. And then one of the other things we uncovered, Sean, related to